Hello everyone, this is Godzilla1, and I'm back with another review, and today I will be reviewing the Transformers Powers of the Primes Abominus fully combined and give you a showing of what that's like. This guy's going to get really freaking huge, so I'm showing more of my backdrop than I normally would like, and I have to stand up the entire review just to show this. Because this guy's going to get pretty big, and I don't have the room to have the camcorder all the way back and still be able to manipulate things, so forgive that. But, yeah, basically we're going to be combining the Power of the Primes Terrorcons together and forming Abominus today, and I will show off the little bits of difference that you wouldn't normally get, like, playing with these toys normally, and also showing off the combined mode. So, first off, you want to take the feet from hun-gurr himself. Now, here's the thing. You can use these by themselves if you want to. There's no problem with that. You can just, use them on their own, perfectly fine. But what they want you to do is to take the hands from whichever ones you're using as the leg bots. We will be using Center Twin here and Cutthroat. We aren't going to ever use Ripper Snapper. Never use Ripper Snapper because of that thing with his connector port. But, socket right there, hole right there. And just put them like that. And the cool thing with this is, if you want to, there is really no reason you couldn't just, turn it around and have this be the foot if you wanted to. It actually looks kind of nice. So, the way it works, you could do that. You don't really lose anything if you do. So, want to do that? Go for it. And do the same thing with Cutthroats. There's no real difference. Sorry about that. Weather's gotten on better. This one's a bit tighter, I find. Now, one thing you want to make sure is that the tabs that let it peg into various parts on these robots, they're all the same. I'm sorry, something in my throat right now. But if you want to, do whatever you want to, you can take these off if you want to, but really they're there for stability. Just make sure these tabs are facing up, because if they're facing down, it will destabilize the combiner. You don't want that. Then just, take these and peg them into the bottoms of whichever one's using as leg bots. It's actually a fairly secure connection. And this, again, is why you don't want to ever use Ripper Snapper as a foot, because if you use him as a foot, he will, that's a lot of force on that thin plastic composing him, so you don't want to do that. And then, do the same exact thing with Cutthroat, and you're pretty much ready to combine at this point. So you just want to take, basically they all have universal ports. If you have a Combiner Wars figure, it's the same exact thing, but just slide it in there. It's fairly secure. Like, it's not so much secure this way, the direction that it goes in, but since most of the articulation's going back, that's not necessarily an issue. And do the same thing with Center Twin in this case. Blot over here is perfectly fine to be used as a leg if you want to use them as a leg, but I prefer to have the symmetry. And he slides in there. And he slides in, and then you have Ripper Snapper on this arm. And there we have Abominus. Now, this of course leaves their various guns. Not so much with these two because their guns just peg into them. But I normally peg Cutthroats into that one right there. It looks better, adds a hint of purple there. But with Center Twin's gun, one thing I found is it's actually rather similar to Blot's gun. At least they're the same length. So what I like to do is peg it into the other port of his backpack. And it gives a bit of symmetry, because now he has two cannons, he has two cannons. It's a lot better symmetry. Not much more to actually look at in comparison to their individual modes, but I can comment more on it. I do like Abominus' head. It's a very nice head sculpt. I like the visor. I just wish he looked a little meaner, because this is Abominus. He is meant to be a brute. He is meant to be an animalistic psychopath. So, yeah, not necessarily the best expression, but still a really good head. And, looking at them all over, same details you saw in their individual modes, just all merged together at this point. And, of course, you can open his chest to reveal the Terrorcon Enigma in the chest. which also does add a splash of color to that area. Like, it, you know, changes the look of it from just, you know, the plain magenta plastic to a bit of yellow, which I like that you have the option there. Also, you can take this off. You can take the door off. It's just like pegged in. It's not actually like bolted in, so you can take it off. I wouldn't, because it doesn't really seem worth it. If you prefer how it would look without the door, you can have it without the door. It's options. Always good. I do like how Abominus looks. Also, I'm going to raise the camera up a tiny bit to get him more in frame. I like how he looks. He has a really good silhouette. Having these two as the arms, I can actually bring him a little bit further. It'll cut off his legs, but I like the symmetry of having these two as the arms because they look different enough you can tell they're separate things, but they still look similar enough. And I like how there are certain colors that sort of continue throughout the whole thing. Like, you know, you got this silver, which is on a couple of them. You got yellow. There's a little bit of yellow on pretty much all of them. Like, Blot has his up here. He has his on his kneecaps. These two have a lot of yellow in them. And then there's the purple, which is also a prominent feature on a few of them. And, you know, this is the same gray... Ripper Snapper has the same gray plastic. So, overall, like, he looks very good together. I like how this set ultimately looks. And the big thing that I like with both the Combiner Wars and the Power of the Primes is the articulation, because I love Power Rangers, but those things are bricks. The articulation on a full Combiner from Combiner Wars or Power of the Primes, you get a head rotation. Some of them I think do have a head ball joint. He doesn't. You probably could like cheat this to have him look up if you really wanted to. I don't really think that would work too well, but you can. His arms do go full 360, ratcheted, which is really nice. Due to they can go out all the way, and with these two as the shoulders, they don't really have all that much limitation until you get straight out, and that's about as far that it would as natural. So that's nice. You know, you get a bicep swivel due to the waist joint. Depending on whether you have this facing forward or back, you know, the knees of the base robot facing forward or back, you get at least a 90-degree elbow bend. If you were to go the other direction, you could get further. I just don't think it looks as nice. So that is completely your prerogative. And it does vary how much they individually get in that regard, depending on who you're using. But yeah, both get about 90 degrees of bend. And I'm not going to use Ripper Snapper because, again, the problem with that thing, you don't want to mess with this too much. Also, the reason I use Blot is this arm, because he's the one that would hold any weapon he has. You get a wrist joint that can move through full 360. It gets a little in and out. The connector's not really meant for it, but you can kind of fiddle it to get a little bit of in and out. You've got a ball-jointed thumb. Well, technically two ball-jointed thumbs. That can twist and turn. You got our fingers. Okay, he doesn't want to have a hand right now, so I'll just show you the articulation normally. You know, the hands can go out fully. Can... you know, fully close up. You can make a decent fist. I just wish he didn't have the two thumbs. Like, that is honestly my one problem with these hands is they have two thumbs. Legs, let's move Ripper Snapper here out of the way so I can show you properly. Legs, you can get out that far, so you can do a full split. He can't quite hold it. Like, the joints aren't quite strong enough to hold it, but he can do it. Can go up that far. Again, he can hold that, actually. So you can kick all the way up, can go all the way back, and actually, if you do it right, you can probably touch the back of his head with his leg. So that's nice. You got a swivel above the knee. On him, I think most of them do have a swivel above the knee. So you got a swivel up there. You got another swivel down here. It's tighter. And not the most useful thing in the world, but in some poses that could be useful. And it is ratcheted. And you get a really nice knee, a little over 90 degrees in this case. So you get a nice over 90 degree knee. At least, I'm pretty sure center twin is average, so... And if you were to break the transformation thing here, you kind of get a double knee. It doesn't look all that good, but you can do it if you want to. And it's not very secure. And then lastly, you get the cool part, which is the ankles. He gets a really, really tight ankle tilt. And a really deep ankle tilt. Oh, and actually the ankle tilt on mine is so tight that it actually popped out the transformation. Let's do it on Center Twin, who's a bit tighter, almost to his detriment. But yeah, you can go out that far, you can go in that far, so he has really nice ankles. And of course you can twist them at the connection port too. And you can also still twist this around and get a little extra stability if you so choose. So that is one advantage the combiners really have, is just articulation, because you can get these guys in some really nice poses. Which is a really nice update to the design, because with these guys you can do a lot more than you ever could with a G1 combiner. Which I love this. I think it's well worth the price of paying for each of the individual figures if the combined mode has this much articulation, and that's one thing I'm hoping that they carry over when they start making Power Rangers toys, is I'd be willing to pay for individual Zords if they were all, each individually, as good as these guys are. Now, of course, on mine it has a few loose joints, but that's probably just mine. I just noticed something was off, sorry. On mine, he has a few loose joints, but he can still stand fairly well. He's going to tip over now that I'm praising him, but yeah, he's a really nice figure. And if you're wondering why he's over there, it's time for size comparisons. Here we have what his limbs originally were, a deluxe class figure, which comes up to about his thigh. So he is a huge guy. I don't have a leader class, but I do have a Voyager. This is Titan's Return Megatron, who just did the splits on me. Stand! Stand! And he's not, his shoulder joint was actually surprisingly tight there and giving me trouble. Who only comes out up to about his hip. I'm pretty sure he's bigger than a leader class. I don't have an available leader I can compare him to, but I'm fairly sure he's even bigger than a leader class. So, he is huge. And now, probably one of the biggest toys I've reviewed, just to give an idea for size comparisons, and Megatron deciding not to stand over here, but whatever. We have the Omega Max Megazord. And while this is a lot bulkier and a lot heavier, I also have to point out that this is two entire robots, roughly the size of, I'd say, an average Voyager class Transformer merged into one. So, and one of which was just its normal self, not a, and this is all Japanese, early 2000s Japanese stuff. So, this is a lot heavier, but they're about the same height. If you don't count the big spoiler on his head, they are the same height. And that's impressive because this is a big guy. This is one of the biggest toys I own. So, he's pretty big. And let's see if I can, and this is going to be awkward, but let's see if I can get him into some sort of pose. One problem I do have with mine, and I'm pretty sure this is only mine, is his hip going, forward doesn't ratchet like it should. But I'm pretty sure that is just mine, and you won't have to deal with that problem. Let's see. He could do this pose if I can get him. He can do this pose. I've had him do it. Okay, screw that. Let's do something a little more dynamic. I actually do have this guy posed fighting the other sort of combiner I have, who is just a mixture of different things. Yeah, that's better. Not the best pose in the world, but it does show off that he has a fair bit of posability. Actually, you'd probably look better if I did that. He can be a little bit finicky to deal with, but that's mainly due to the number of joints and how heavy he is. But even that, I think, is a pretty decent looking pose. It might actually look better if I did. And there goes a hip joint. Mine's joints aren't as tight as I would like in some places, but overall he still manages to get a few good... You can get a lot of good poses out of him. I'm just having trouble doing one on camera where time is limited and I don't have time to finagle with him. But he does get some good poses. Like, you can do a lot of cool things with this guy, and he looks really, really good. I'm really glad I got this guy. I honestly can fully recommend him. He is probably going to be a bit expensive because Power of the Primes is ending. But if you can get the limb bots for about... If you can get everything here for an average price for a Transformer, I highly recommend him. Because he is a really good toy. And I love that we got full combiners that have this much articulation. Yeah, again, he is finicky. And, I mean, he is a little finicky to deal with, but that might just be mine because I haven't heard other people complain about those joint tolerances. So that might just be mine. I've not seen anyone else have that problem. I probably just had bad luck. But even if I didn't, I really like this guy. I only have one complaint with him, and that's that he doesn't have a weapon. Like, of course, he has all his components weapons, but, you know, unlike a lot of the Combiner Wars, he didn't, figures hun-gurr didn't really come with any weapons at all, except for the feet guns. So, I'm going to say, you know, that's my only real gripe. And there are third-party add-on kits that remedy that. And I'm sure you can cannibalize, like, various things from other toys, and there's the Prime Masters. Which, another cool thing is, if you pay attention... Including the one he has, including the one in his chest, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Prime Master ports on him. So you can plug 7 Prime Masters or 7 Titan Masters if you so choose to have him covered in faces. Which, given he's Abominus, I would not disagree if you want to have him covered in faces. He's supposed to be an abomination. So that is something you can do. There is also one thing that I will say is that there is that combiner from Transformers Prime, that little Abominus they have, which I do have, but it's kind of buried right now. It's not nearly as good as this thing, but if you got that one and you're content with it as your Abominus, fine. I personally think this is way better because, one, even if that one was scaled up to the same size, this just looks better. This is just a way better designed figure than that one is. So, it's a decent one. I mean, it's a decent little figure to have as a Legends class, but this just blows that out of the water. This is by far one of the, like, best Abominus toys I've seen that's not a third party. I need to point this out. There are third parties. I think there's one called Odin, who is pretty good. Like, he is a pretty good figure. And from what I've seen, he is honestly a nice figure. And if you have him, you might not have a reason to get this guy. But the thing is, third-party figures are way more expensive than mainline figures. So if you have the money to spend on a third party and prefer that, fine. But I think this is a cheaper and more affordable option, even with the upscaled eBay prices and Amazon prices. So anyway, I highly recommend this figure, well, collection of figures. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye! I still don't have a catchphrase.